Hey everyone, Shep here, and it's time for another RPG review down here in the gaming lair. Today I want to take a look at the Pendragon RPG, and we're going to begin with the core rulebook. In the future, I hope to review some of the other books in the Pendragon series, things like the Game Master's Handbook and some of the actual adventure books, but we're going to start with the core here. This is one of my favorite RPGs. I'm not going to bury the lead. This has been fantastic in campaign play. It's also been great as a solo experience for me personally. So I really enjoy this. I want to share it with you. So let's get to the table. All right, here we are with our Pendragon core rulebook and our Elixir of Vitality. So we are ready to go. Let's begin by taking a look just at the physical product. This is probably one of my favorite actual books that I own just physically. It is a hardbound book. Looks really nice on the surface. The binding is just amazing. If you can see that right there. Comes with two different placement ribbons, which is really helpful in a book of this size. The pages in this book are just about the finest pages. They're not a glossy page or anything else. They're really thick cardstock, so they're not just kind of thin copy paper type pages either. But there's a finish to these pages and just the coloring of it. It makes it feel like an old weathered parchment. This is really just a nice touch. They've done an incredible job at picking the physical product that they've made their book out of here. And so it also is full of artwork. Some of it, these full splat pages of art, some of these large portrait size pieces of art, but then you have all these little odd add-ins, just small pieces. You'll also have these pieces just here and there that remind you of illuminations in a medieval manuscript. And so all of these things just add this feel. And every single piece of the art, you may like different kinds of art and things, but the one thing you can say about the art in this book, it immerses you into the text itself. It feels like I'm reading something that belongs in the Pendragon era, and that just makes it really just evocative as a book. So as a physical product, just 10 out of 10, just such a great book here. Inside of the book, there are lots of tables. As a matter of fact, they have here in the front not only the table of contents, but a list of every single one of the tables. Lots of tables in here. So if you like actually randomly rolling things and determining things, this is a great option for you. Lots of things here, which means there's also a lot of dice rolling in this. All of character creation has some really great dice rolling. There's all kinds of skill rolls and everything else. A lot of random determination for many things in the game. And so that's just a really great feature. At the very back of the book, one of the things that you've got back here is a layout of the character sheet. So a nice clean character sheet. You can see lots and lots of details here, lots of things that flesh out your character and really bring them to life. One of the things I really like is that Chaosium, the publisher of Pendragon, also provides a free online auto calculation character sheet, because there's a number of derived statistics and things that feed into other things, and even things over here in the traits that just by programming in one number, it begins to take care of a lot of the math for you. Such a great feature that Chaosium has provided. And they do it not only for this, but they also do it for some of their other games like Call of Cthulhu and things like that. The sections are really well organized in the book for the most part. One of the things that I like is as you begin, it kind of starts giving you some of the setting, some of the background. So if you're new to kind of Arthurian legends and playing games as a knight, it gives you a nice outline. But then as you go along, the game tells you a little bit about the game system, but most of the front of this game is centered around creating your knight. And so it walks you through the entire process. And by the way, if you're not familiar with Pendragon, that's one of the unique features about this game is everyone plays a knight. No one's playing wizards or thieves or anything else. Everyone is a knight. And that may feel like, wow, that could be really stale. We're all the same kind of guy or gal, and we're all doing the same thing, but that's not true. That there's so much flavor in this game, so many different ways to approach the kind of knight that you are. It still has a lot of variety to it. But everybody walks through this process of becoming a knight, and so you build your character. You start with your backstory, your parents' history here, and what were they like? How much glory did they have? And, what kind of name do you come from? It impacts the start of your character. You start going through names. There's places where you can create your own coat of arms. It teaches you that in the back. But then you begin going through your major characteristics and things, your personality traits, and then eventually you'll go through your skills and everything else. And the first part of this book is all about building these things up and teaching you how to go through these things. The one section that I would say feels kind of out of place when you look, again, everything just kind of goes right along with building your character, and then suddenly you hit combat. But after you learn about the weapons and the armor and the horses are important as a knight. You learn about these things, some of the stats and things like that after you learn about combat. For me personally, the flow seems like these things that are building up into my character would have been more helpful, and then combat coming after that. But that's a pretty minor quibble in the layout of what otherwise is a book that makes sense as you're going along overall. The only knock as a player, as a user of the book, is that there is a lot of text in every single thing. Now, it's also an upside. If you're not familiar with these things, or if you're having a hard time kind of grasping the feel and the flavor of what it's like to be a knight in this mythical Arthurian realm, boy, it's got you covered. It has every bit of information you would want about skills and your traits and your passions and things like that. But it is a lot of text to go through. As I said, there's a lot of tables, but sometimes finding a piece of information can be a little challenging as you're going through just so much information in here. So there are times that even though I've been playing it for a while, I'm trying to flip around to find one small detail, and it takes me a little bit of time to find, like this specific chart. I was just trying to find the other night for my gaming group and couldn't remember an exact number. And it took a while to find this page right here. So that's a little bit of a knock for me, but still, I love the content. There's tons of information, tons of flavor here, so many details that the game provides about the setting that it's building and creating. As I said, I truly do love this game. I love the way it plays because it does play so differently from so many other games that I already own and play. Pendragon, like a lot of Chaosium games, uses a roll under system. There are no actual classes because everyone's a knight. So most everything occurs by the use of your skills. And so all your skills go from 1 to 20, and it is a roll under. And it uses a bit of a blackjack system. So as you're competing and opposing someone else, it's rolling under, but as close as you can get. A critical success is rolling exactly what your skill number is. So I find that to be really interesting. It adds an exciting flair into the game, and myself and players in my game group really enjoy trying to hit that critical number. There are some other features that are unique to this game that I think really makes it shine and gives it a distinction. When you're playing Pendragon, you feel like you're playing something different than a lot of your other games. And those things come in the flavor and form of traits and your passions that you can see right here on your character sheet. First up are your passions. A lot of times in a game, you may have been at tables where you hear someone say, well, that's what my character would do. And everybody else at the table generally feels, I don't feel like that is what your character would do. Or somebody seems to act kind of against a motivation, or they're unsure, how would my character respond? It's hard to get into the mindset of my character, or we do the most intelligent thing all the time, or the most heroic thing. Well, that's where our traits come in. These are balanced on a scale with a 20 being total. So for example, energetic and lazy, if you were a 12 energetic, that means you are an 8 lazy. If you are an 11 forgiving, you are a 9 vengeful. So they always total 20 together. And as you go along, it gives you an idea of how you're going to respond. And so if all of a sudden you want to go along and you're saying, well, I'm going to be very just and do the right thing in this moment, but you're, let's just say, only an 8 just, the game master may say, well, let's roll against your just. Is that what your character's motivation is in this moment? And so it provides a guide. And so some people may see that and go, wow, you're going to tell me how to run my character. And trust me, from all the experience, it's just an interesting feel to help guide how would this other person actually behave. And it really does immerse you into gameplay and role playing, as opposed to, well, in all honesty, just being myself in a suit of armor with a sword. And so I find that interesting. As a solo player, I really love this. As you're balancing out that role of being the game master and being the player at the exact same time, as you face a situation, these traits can really help you figure out, I already know the game master side, but how would I respond? And these traits really are a great guide there. When it comes over to the passions, these are things that drive and put a fire in the belly of your character. And so these are things that you can call on to actually boost your skill rolls. So you may have a 10 in battle, but your homage to your lord, you could call upon that, trying to win this victory in his name, for his glory and for his kingdom. And by acting on that passion, it may give you a bonus. So instead of a 10, you may end up with a 15 to your result, making it much easier to make some of those skill checks. But the really exciting thing is there's some risk in this, because while your passions can help improve your skills, if you fail at a passion roll, these can drive you into melancholy or even all the way into madness. So an incredible kind of push your luck sort of thing, a great empowerment for the character, but also a potential danger. So really fun to play with there. I like the fact that this is a skill-based game, so you're not dealing with levels, classes, things like that. It's purely, your skill. And this is that place where, even though we're all knights, this is where we begin to differentiate ourselves. Someone may be great at charging and fighting on horseback, where someone else is a sword and board kind of knight. Another person may be far more diplomatic, and so they're focused, while they have some basic fighting skills, they may be focused more on things like courtesy and intrigue and orate, and be able to bring that different kind of diplomatic dynamic into that group. So those skills right here make it very interesting here. My favorite thing, though, in the entire game is the winter phase. This game is played over the span of a year, and typically they would tell you that in every single year of Pendragon, you have one major adventure, and then you move to a winter phase. For me, I like to have a little more variety, so typically I've got it into 4 seasons. So in my game, my group starts the year with a tournament, and they can participate. They could just be observers in the tournament, things like that. And so there's the spring tournament season. During the summer is usually the campaigning season. The fall is when there's feasting, another interesting element in the game, not included as a major component in the core rule book, but it is in the Game Master's handbook. But feasting allows just another kind of interaction. And then finally, the winter phase. The winter phase is the time when your characters grow, and so it starts with a solo scenario. So if you had that player that couldn't make the adventure for a couple of sessions, instead of falling behind, there's an opportunity for them to gain a bit of experience through the solo scenario. But then everybody goes through a personal event, and again, we have another table here, and you can take a look at those personal events, and it gives you some other opportunities to have encounters with some of your traits, gives you opportunities to gain more experience in those kinds of areas. And so a lot of those here. Then there are the experience rolls. And a little bit like you have in Call of Cthulhu, as you begin to use your various skills, passions, and your traits, when you begin to use them, they have the opportunity to be checked off. And so that means that you are successfully using them in a significant way. And so at the very end of the year during the winter phase, you roll against each and every one of those. And that's just always a fun time. I look forward to it personally. Every person in my gaming group does, because it is the opportunity for you to roll on every single one of those. And very much like Call of Cthulhu, if you fail against this roll, so you roll over the number, because normally it's a roll under, you roll over this number, that trait or the passion or the skill goes up by 1, absolutely free. And so what that means is for those newer skills, those lower value skills, let's just say it's a 5 or less, real high potential that's going to go up every time you end up using it, because it's more likely you're going to roll over that number. For your higher ones, much harder to do, but there is still always that potential to do that. And so that's just kind of an exciting element, just this free opportunity to grow. And then there's some economic things for the average knight. This is a small piece, but your knights can grow and have holdings and things of their own, which can become a really involved, very exciting point for your knight to go through. Aging comes up. We start getting a little decrepit pretty young. A little hurtful at my age right now to see when decrepitude sets in, but it is a part of the gameplay here. Your squire ages. Every knight starts with their own squire, but they themselves will attain knighthood. And so again, it's just another character that you may have that can go along and grow with you, that fleshes out your character and makes it more significant. You have to check on your horse's survival each and every year. A knight and his horse are one team, and so caring for the horse is a big deal and can be a big deal there. Then there's the standardized opportunity to train and grow, and so this is a place to customize how you want to see your knight progress. And then there are prestige awards, because the driving focus of Pendragon isn't about experience points. It isn't gold. Really, you're not treasure hunting at all in the game. What really drives this game is glory. And so as you go, one of your chief stats is glory. And your hope is to bring this great glory to your family and to your name, because Pendragon can be played over generations. And so one of the things that can happen in the winter phase is characters can get married and can have children. And those children eventually can grow up and become heirs. And so as your knight becomes decrepit and eventually retires, your child can take over and they inherit some of your glory and continue on your name. So a completely different focus in the objectives of the game and everything else. And it just really feels, when you're playing Pendragon, that you're really approaching a very different kind of game than a lot of other things. So if you're ever interested in kind of breaking up the flow of your current RPG, or if you're a solo player and just kind of want to stretch out from the dungeon crawl and want to move into a lot more social interaction, a lot of moral quandaries. What do I do in these situations? How do I navigate certain situations? I encourage you, give Pendragon a try. Great game, high quality product. I promise you're going to enjoy it. All right, that's our look at Pendragon for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, help get the word out. But for today, that's all, and we'll see you next time at the table.